Hey guys, so now we have a working inventory and we can add items to it. We can click on it already. So we can now create the equipment slots where we will be equipping the items. So first thing we need to do is go to third person, blueprints, widgets, and in the widgets we need to duplicate the inventory icon. So click and Ctrl D, and we will name this equipment slots or equipment slot underscore W for widget. We open that up, and in here I'll just change it slightly. We don't need the outside border. I want it to look a little bit different, so I will remove this. To do that, you need to right click on it, replace with, and you replace it with child. Now that's gone. Save this one, and now what we can do is create one more widget which will hold all these equipment slots, and we can add it to the inventory. For that, go to user interface, widget blueprint, and user widget. This one will be our equipment slot preview underscore widget. Open that up. First thing we can do is check in the inventory what is the size of the inventory, which is, I have it set to 610 times 610, so for now I'll do the same size. So equipment preview, I'll first add canvas panel, and then in the canvas panel I will add border. So border, now make the border size X 610 and size Y is 610 as well. We don't need a background on this, so change the tint and put alpha channel to 0. Now here in the border we need another canvas panel, as the border can hold more than one child, and now we can add our equipment slots. So type in equipment slot and you got it here. We make it size X will be 100 and size Y will be 100 as well. And now we need to create a few equipment slots. What I will be doing for the tutorial is obviously main hand, you need off hand, you need helm, chest, gloves, legs and feet. That's like the main ones for armor, and for weapons altogether 7 slots. So you can obviously create more once you follow this tutorial. It's not actually that hard, but obviously 7 is more than enough, because if you create more it is actually a little bit more complicated later on, just more code, and it gets a little bit messy. So just for now, click on this equipment slot and duplicate it 6 more times. We will rename this to main hand. So equipment slot main hand, this one will be off hand, and then top to bottom you go head, chest, glove or hands, and legs, and this one will be feet. Right, now in the graph, switch to graph, and no, actually here, sorry, here in the equipment slot, in the graph, rename this inventory index variable to equipment slot index. Make sure it's still instance editable and exposed on spawn. compile and save it. Now in an equipment slot preview, go to designer, and now on each slot you have a equipment slot index that you can set. These need to be a unique number, so we can then locate them and we know where to equip the weapons. So for main hand, leave it at 0, offhand 1, head 2, chest 3, hands 4, legs 5, feet 6, and now we just position it so once you click on it and drag it, you can see what slot it is. So feet down here, this one is legs, hands, chest, and head. This one is offhand and main hand. Again, position it as you like, but I like to leave a little bit space. Later on we can add the character preview here or some stats. So this will be all for now. Now we can go to our inventory. We need to create the new border. We will add it to the canvas panel, and this will hold our equipment slots. We also need to rename this to equipment slot box, and take in equipment variable is variable because we will need it later. Compile and save, and now here in this border we can add the equipment preview, not the equipment slot. So whole equipment preview, and we have it here, and we change this one size to 610 and 610, so it will be matching. And here again we don't need the tint, so click on tint and make alpha channel 0. Now move it slightly bit down. Let's change the position on the main border with inventory. I'll do it. Position X will be 1125 and position Y will be 225. This one, the equipment slot box, will be 225 and maybe 225. Right, now it's on the same height. And if you go now to your game and open the inventory, we can see the equipment slots here. I want to style them a little bit better because obviously they don't stand out or anything. First thing I'm going to do is change the background image of the whole inventory. We don't need it as opaque because I don't want to see the player anymore. I'll put it to 0.9 and I'll make it darker. So alpha 0.9 and make it way darker. And now we can style the equipment slots a little bit better. So go to equipment slots widget, and in here go to designer, and now what we can do is on the button we can change the tint to something lighter, so somewhere in the middle. Again, you don't have to follow this exactly, just trying to make it look semi-decent. So I'll change so here in normal, change the tint, change draw as rounded box. We will do some outline on this, so I'll do 10 radius, corner radius 10 each, and the outline, that is basically the outside border, will be a bit darker. I also don't want it to be very flashy when we're hovering or anything, so I'm going to change the hovered to rounded box as well, change the pressed to rounded box, And now we copy the tint from normal, paste it into hovered. I'll just make it a little bit lighter. So there's some change once we hover over it. And now we copy this and paste it into tint of pressed. Now we can also copy the outline settings. First we can actually change the width of the normal outline to 4. And now here on the outline settings you can copy the whole thing. So right click on it, copy, and now paste it in hovered and paste it in pressed. Perfect. Compile and save. See what this looks like now. So open the inventory, and now we got equipment slots, which actually look quite nice. And now when you hover over, it doesn't look as bad. It's just slightly changing the color. So now we got equipment slots created. We need a way to equip the items into it. So what we need to do is go to our inventory icon, and now click on the button, and down here we're going to do on clicked event. So press on a plus icon, and now once we click on the inventory icon on some item, we first need to check if there is some item actually in the on that specific icon. So again we need to break item info. So get item info, break it open, and check if it's valid class. If it doesn't have an item, there won't be any class, so it won't be a valid class, and we don't have to execute this. So if it is valid class, what we're going to do, we're going to drag from item type, and we're going to switch on item types, and this will let us do a different thing for each different slot. For now we only got main hand, offhand, two-handed, and shield. We don't have armor yet. We will add it later on as well, because for now we don't even have items. You can also later create potions and stuff like that, and for each type you can have a different function run. So for now we're going to create one more variable, and this one will be equipment slot index. Or just equipment index, doesn't matter. Type integer, and we need to set it on each of these. So we will set it here, copy it 4 times, and now the equipment slot index, if you remember here in equipment slots, or equipment preview actually, we set main hand to 0, and we set offhand to 1. So now we'll go here, main hand will stay 0, offhand will be 1, and since we will be equipping two-handed weapon into main hand slot, this can stay 0 as well, and shield will be in the offhand slot, so we will change it to 1. From here we can compile this and save. Now we need to go to our player blueprint. So in blueprints, open player blueprint if you don't have it open, and in here we need to create a map array. Map array will basically let us hold index, and for that index we can set also some type of information. So let us hold 2 things. This will be perfect for equipment slots because we can set on which index we want what item to have. So can just duplicate this inventory probably and call this attached equipment info because it will hold the info. And here when you click on it here on the array, you can change it to map. except for one thing, we need to have integer first and we need to have item info second. So just change the first one to integer and second one to our item info struct. Perfect. And now when you compile it and save it, you could see here you could add an element, and this is what it will look like. So on index 0 you will have the item and so on. You can change it to 1 and everything. We don't need to create it here. We remove this, compile and save this. Now we can go back to our inventory icon. We do not have a player reference, so we can't access it. So first thing you're going to do is delete these two, and on event construct cast to player blueprint, we will drag from object and get player character and promote this to a variable called player reference. And now we got the reference for player setup. We get the reference and we can access our map array, which is attached equipment info. You get it first. Now we need to set it as well. So set attached equipment info. Since I dragged from here, I don't have a target, so put it into player. Now you need to connect all of these here. So after we set index, we're going to set the equipment array, and here we need to do add to map. Map is this one. Index is the one we're setting here, so equipment slot index. And for that slot index we will also need the item. So item will be the one we're just clicking on in the inventory icon. So we got it set here and connect it to the add. And now once we basically click on an item or icon, it will check which item type it is, assign it a slot index number, and then for that slot index number it will create the entry in the map array. And now we can compile this and save. Now we got it here in the map array. We need a way to get it into equipment slot. So in the equipment slot we can delete this event tick and event pre-construct. Once again, we'll need to get a player reference, so either copy it from other one or just do it. It's a good practice to do it a few times so you remember. Get player character and promote this to a variable called player reference. And now directly from here we can get attached equipment info map array, and in this array we can find. So type in find and we'll be finding so we got equipment slot index set here. So each one's got a unique one, so we will be looking only the one that we need. And now we got the item. So we need to check if it's valid. So we break it open, we create a branch B and click, check if it's valid class. And connect it here. Now if it is valid class, we can just get this item info that we got here and set it. We will set it from here. If it's not valid class, it won't do anything, so won't generate any warnings. And now we got item info set. So if that equipment icon actually got something, find something in the attached equipment array, then it will generate the item info, and from that it can create icons. Let's have a look. We still got icons created from here, and we got the function that is bind to it, so you can just play the game. And now if we pick up items and we click on them, you don't see anything because we're not refreshing these slots. So what we need to do is close inventory and open it again, and now you have your iron axe equipped to the current slot. We can do this one, close and open, and you can see it equipped in the correct slot. Now what we need to do is, first I notice that we see a count. You don't want to have a count in the inventory, in the equipment slots, so remove that. In equipment slot, just click on item count and delete it. And now also we need a way to refresh the whole inventory. So what we're going to do is refresh it in the inventory here. We just need the way to remove this whole thing and then spawn it again. So we created the equipment slot box that holds it. So what we're going to do is, in the graph, we're going to create a custom event. This one will be called refresh equipment slots. And here we will drag that equipment box that we created. First we clear all children, because if you just keep reopening it and you don't clear the children, it will still keep in the memory and eventually your game will slow down as well. This is one thing that is not very great in Unreal, but if you clear the children, it's all good. So always clear the children first, and then we can create a widget. So create widget. Widget we're creating is the equipment preview. So we'll just basically clear it and spawn it again. And now we don't add it to viewport, we add child to this equipment slot box. So add child, connected here, and the content is the return value from equipment slot preview. You can double click on this. Let's make it a bit nicer. Compile and save. Now we also need to call this function, and we need to call it once we click on the inventory icon, so equip it here. Except for this is located in our inventory, so we need a way to get a reference to that inventory. We could just pass the references to the icons here where we're creating the inventory, and we'll just pass self and set it, but we will just have to create one more variable. We got inventory reference in our player, so we can just get it from there. So we will drag from player, get inventory reference, and now we can access the refresh equipment slots, and we will connect it on the end. So once we add the item, so it will refresh and pull the information. Now when you play it and press on it, it's equipping the items. So obviously we're not removing the items from the inventory yet. We need to do that, and we need a way to unequip it as well, which we will do in the next video. Alright, see you in the next one.